I saw the clock and I was like 7:41. That was my first question. It's like, is the clock accurate? Because I couldn't believe it. My best Ironman was like 8:18 before, and I obviously knew I'd do better than that.
And we are back with another interview with maybe America's next big hotshot, Colin Szuch, all the way from Colorado, and his coach, another Dane, Kasper. And actually, Kasper, I don't know why you and I didn't sit together, because we are recording, 500 meters away from one another, but we wanted to keep it fancy. So two guys sitting less than a kilometer apart, and then we have Colin, who are 5,000 kilometers, maybe 10,000 kilometers away. So is it fair, Colin, to say a breakthrough season after you have a couple of podiums and a stellar result in Ironman Arizona here a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah, I would say it's fair to say it was a breakout season. I think I accomplished like a lot of like smaller goals that I wanted to accomplish, and I mean, I was able to like finally execute solid training, and like I learned a lot through the season. So I feel like in that way, it was a breakout season.
Yeah, exactly. And if you take a look at especially last season and this season, you've been racing a ton. I mean, like 15 or even 20 pro races. So when the two of you began to work together, of course, Kasper, you had a look at what Colin has been doing. What were some of the thoughts up till the point you started working together?
I would say that there was quite some low-hanging fruits, I would say, to pick on leading into Arizona. Actually, Colin and I has only worked together for the past 6 or 7 weeks. I think we started, you, Colin, reached out maybe 8 or 9 weeks ago, and then we had like a few meetings, discussed through a lot of things, and then I would say 5 or 6 weeks prior to Arizona, we started really structuring the training. I had followed along a little bit with Colin, and actually we met in St. George, not like communicated with each other, but I was there with Ben Hamilton and Magnus Ditlev for the race. And I do remember a blonde guy running through the field in St. George, really suffering, but he was running really strong. And I think, Colin, you took the last place on the podium, and was a really great result. But then, Colin reached out to me, and we started working together. And I think one of the first things that I touched on, which you also just touched on, Lasse, was that Colin has raced a ton. But I think maybe the main thing was that Colin sometimes also raced a bit in training. So the whole philosophy Colin maybe had to training, which I think you can come a long way, but which you naturally have, Colin. But it was really, Colin did some really, really strong efforts in training, but it was more, one big day, and then he was tired. You were tired, Colin, for 4 or 5 days. And then, of course, you can say when you're then off for 4 days and feeling fatigued after a big workout, you also kind of lose confidence in yourself. And then you want to go back into a new big day and be like, oh, I need to see if my fitness is still there. And then it kind of became like a evil spiral that Colin went into. So the main priority for us leading into Arizona was really to build some consistency. And I think every day almost since we started, Colin has called me and said if this is enough training, because he was actually feeling good and not tired and waking up fresh and able to execute the sessions. But I think, as it turned out in the last two races of the season, it's been a really great progress so far in only a short amount of time. And we will most likely come into it, but there's actually a quite funny way that we started the whole collaboration.
So, Colin, talk a little bit about how you and Kasper came into your collaboration, and also maybe touch a little bit of the process going into Arizona before we start talking about the race itself.
Sure. I knew a Kasper for probably the last year or two, just because I saw Casper in the media a couple of times. The Frankfurt incident, and
Oh yeah.
and I knew Casper was very passionate, like about triathlon and like especially about like helping younger athletes. And I figured like there's like there are a lot of coaches, but there are also a lot of coaches that maybe aren't that invested, especially in like a younger athlete. They might have like so many people on their resume or on their list, and they just don't have the time to like really go through and help an athlete. And I feel like I needed like someone that was going to be there every step of the way, and I knew Casper was going to do that.
Yeah, but I think you actually really nailed it there. You can't say the name Kasper Petersen and don't have passion in the same sentence, especially when you think about the Frankfurt incidents. That's so
Yeah.
funny. Is it fair to say, Colin, that you maybe didn't really nail the full Ironman distance before Arizona, but you sort of figured out the 70.3 distance, but the full distance you struggled a little bit. So what were the big concerns, or what were your main focus in the training process up to Arizona?
Yeah, I knew I was doing things wrong. I mean, I did my first Ironman in 2024. At the beginning of 2024 was Ironman New Zealand, and that was my
Yeah,
best performance. And like I was much weaker then, and like I just kind of went into the day just trying to finish it because it was like my first Ironman, and I got fifth. I was like pretty happy with that day. It wasn't a fast time, but it was like for that it was a good performance. And then I did I think five more Ironmans, and all of them went poorly. And I trained
yeah,
so hard into all of those races, and like crazy crazy training. And I would just show up, and I was just like so depleted. And then like 70.3 racing, I feel like I could get away with a lot more. It's just and I think I was doing things wrong in 70.3 as well.
yeah.
I just it just wasn't showing up. I could get away with it because like I had the fitness to maybe just push out an effort, and I wasn't going to fall apart at the last part like you would in Ironman.
Can we just, because if you take a look at some of your, so there's a couple of DNFs there. Can you take an example of a race where you thought, boy, I trained so hard for this, I should get a result here, and then in the middle of it all, it completely collapsed, and you had to go back to the drawing board. Just for an example for the audience.
Sure. I can think of three right off the bat.
Okay.
Like Ironman Texas, I was flying into that. Like well, I wasn't flying. I was training so hard. Like every day was just crazy. And like I would do a lot of these like I think it was like I just wanted to do like 20-mile run under 2 hours. And like I feel like that was like basically a race effort that day. And and then I was so fatigued going into the race, like I just had nothing. And then I did the same thing at Frankfurt, and then I did the same thing at Lake Placid. So yeah, and by the end of all those Ironmans, I knew something was wrong, and there was
But
a better way I could go about this.
but when in a race situation, does one figure out I might have overdone this just a tad? Is it already in the swim, or is it actually maybe you already know in race week? Where is it the penny drops? I overdid this a little bit.
Penny drops at hour 5 for me. That's when I
Okay,
knew. I was like, something's wrong.
but also maybe it's people are not able to tell from if they watch on YouTube. You're a young guy, Colin. You're only 23 still,
Yeah, I'm
right?
23. Hmm.
So you also started your long course triathlon career pretty young, I would say, but you don't get through this sport without a bit of scars, right?
Yeah, I would say so. I guess when you're young, you just don't know really, and you just
Yeah,
like you see these YouTube videos of these guys training so ridiculously hard, and you're like, okay,
exactly.
that's exactly what I have to do. So, and you just
But
don't know that like there's a better way to go about that.
Exactly. But from all these experiences, your DNF in Frankfurt or in Texas, your conversation and your training going into Arizona, can you talk a little bit about what you exactly changed and how that felt?
Yeah, I mean, I had no direction in it. It was all Casper. And like
Yeah.
every day I would call Casper, like, we should do more, we should push harder. Like, because I would go on the treadmill and like, I'm used to like doing a session where like I end the session and I am like done. Like, there's nothing left. And I just go to bed kind of like in a fetal position. But with Casper, I mean, the sessions were every session super controlled. There was intensity control throughout the entire day, and then of course there was intensity, but it was measured.
Yeah. And Casper, when you talk to Colin and have to convince this young, tall guy full of energy that he's actually doing the exactly what you want him to do, and he shouldn't be concerned. Can you come of some examples what you tell him during your some of your coach conversations?
Yeah, I think it comes down to actually when we started talking together when Colin reached out to me. Colin actually reached out just the day after an athlete of mine, of my squad, left me for coaching himself. And I have now, over the last 4 or 5 years, when I've been working with professional athletes, I have kind of a feeling that working with international athletes, at least outside of Denmark, can be quite difficult at times. It seems like
Mm.
they don't really trust the process, and I have now a few cases where like then they want to work together for a year, and people really expect that, okay, within 6 months they will be like Magnus or like be a world champion or have like big results. But the main thing about it, and especially for the athletes that eventually had to reach out to me, is that sometimes you have to take a step back and see it in a bigger picture and be like, this is a process that will take 2, 3, maybe 5 years for some. And people, I think, is now really stressed with the level in triathlon nowadays, especially, yeah, both in the female and male side, where they want to see results right away because they feel like they're so far behind. So what I actually told Colin when he reached out at first, I actually just had a conversation with my girlfriend the day before that I just felt like I was done working with international athletes and I just wanted to have my focus on the 4 professional Danish athletes I have and be like, fuck the rest. Like, I
Yeah.
want to have people that are fully invested. And I was actually really honest about that with Colin, and I said to
Hmm.
him, and maybe I was a bit harsh. Sorry for that, Colin, but it was just, I think, the timing of it, and I was really like, okay, I do want to take you in, but I want you to trust the plan. I want you to invest. I want you to come to South Africa in January when I'm hosting a professional camp for my athletes. Like, I want us to see each other regularly throughout the year. You have to trust the plan. And like, because I know now I have kind of a script now to kind of way to get to success. And I know this works, but it also, like, I can only like guide my athlete, but the athlete is the one that needs to take like the responsibility and do the sessions. And I was really honest with Colin about that. And really, to like my biggest respect for Colin, I like I've never seen an athlete being so dedicated and respectful of the program. It is not to say that like I need to be in charge of everything 100% because I really do believe in this. It's also something we had in our conversation that I think a good coach athlete relationship is like mutual in the way that like as much as Colin need my guidance, equally I need Colin's guidance as well in terms of how he's feeling, what he feel like he responds well to, etc. So I think like the way that Colin went into this with the mindset and really just trusted the plan. And then he was really like, okay, I give all the power to you. I'll just follow the plan. And the lactate numbers were on point. He felt fresh. And like there was one time, I think it was maybe 2 or 3 weeks into the block where I think Colin called me at 9 p.m. my time, so that was probably 1 p.m. his time, and he hadn't started one of his trainings yet, and he had 3 sessions that day. And I was like, Colin, you need to like spread it out through the day, so you have to wake up earlier. And the next day, I got a text from him really early, and he was just up and bright going to the pool. So like he has really just been good at taking in the guidance I have given to him. And maybe a really important thing to say is that Colin also lives in altitude up in 2,400 meters. So it's really high altitude. And that is, of course, also something we really have to respect. Colin has grown up in altitude, so obviously his system is way more used to it. But
Ah,
there is still a lot of factors that we need to take into consideration why intensity control has been so important. And to be honest, and not to take anything away from the work that we've been doing, but it was really like, playing pro cycling manager in a way. And I could see that this athlete had a great fitness, but it was just about getting him fresh for race day. So it wasn't because we did some really hard sessions or so. I think you maybe average 20, 23 hours of training per week, but it was with great intensity controlled. And I knew that if Colin showed up fresh for Arizona, then based upon the numbers I saw and with the level I know there is in the top of the sport, that if he could then execute the plan on race day with the tactics that we kind of could see will unfold, then I knew he was in for a really good result, which, yeah, he was in for by the end of it.
exactly. And let's talk a little bit about the race itself, because not only are you going to measure your own fitness gains and, of course, want to do your best performance possible, you're also going up against some of the top Americans, and that, of course, also is a big part of it to be top dog, with your own peers, Sam Long, Matt Hansen, and just to name a few. So talk a little bit about your race there, Colin.
Yeah, I mean, we in our conversations before the race, like we said, like we wanted it to be an easy Ironman. Like no Ironman is easy, but we're gonna make it like as easy as possible. And I mean that's hard to say when like you're riding on Sam Long's wheel and like having to take pulls and Trevor Foley's coming through and I mean you're still trying to. I was trying to make it like as easy and relaxed as possible. I mean the swim, I just my level's not that high in the swim, so I mean there isn't like that much room to like relax. I can just kind of go to a certain level and I just have to like swim at that intensity. It's not all out, but it's like it's not that far off. And then on the bike, it's just like I was really just focused on taking enough nutrition. I mean, that's something I haven't done super well in previous Ironmans just because I've gotten so caught up in the race. Like you just pushing, 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 trying to get to the front, thinking that's going to be the solution. And luckily with Arizona, there was like the dynamics works quite well where I could like, take a pull and then come off and then drink and eat a bunch of food and then kind of relax and be as fresh as possible for the run. I mean, I knew my preparation for Arizona was limited. I mean, I think we only had 6 weeks going into Arizona of like proper preparation. And I knew I was fresh for it then. And like I would probably have an okay run as long as I kept up the nutrition and like kind of kept within the ranges I knew were possible. And then like on the run, I felt so good. It felt so easy the first maybe 20 miles. And then after that it was an Ironman. But until
Yeah,
then, it was a pretty controlled effort. And I mean, it gave me like a lot of confidence going into next year with future
yeah, exactly.
Ironmans.
Because as we talked about before, some of the races that you DNF'd, that in the fifth hour you sort of okay, I've overtrained here, and now you bike a crazy fast 4:01, and then go on to the marathon and think it's super easy. So if you have that kind of fitness, that really gives a lot of hopes for the future for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Kasper, a few words about the race. Were you following along on live trip?
Yeah, Colin, he kind of destroyed my night of sleep from
Yeah,
Sunday to Monday. I like it wasn't because I was that nervous before the race, because yeah, as Colin said, our plan was really to just do an aerobic Ironman. Obviously, we had talked through the tactics, and obviously we discussed, okay, we might be in this position, and how would you react to this situation? How would we react when Sam comes by, when Trevor comes, etc. So these scenarios, we had talked those through, but by the end of the day, the main focus of our pre-race chat was really to focus on Colin himself, because I have seen his sessions and I know what he's capable of doing himself. And honestly, it wasn't really about the result. It was more about finding confidence in, okay, when you can do an aerobic Ironman, first, then we can start to race it. So it was really like, okay, we need to take that off first before we can really feel confident in making moves. And yeah, I would say Colin really didn't do any mistakes in that race. We have discussed there was a move Colin did when he was catching up on Ben Canute on the last 6 miles, and they were actually, I think, yeah, Colin, you saw him. He was maybe 20 seconds ahead, and Colin decided to make a move to close the gap. And in hindsight, maybe Colin should have just, kept to his pace and be like, okay, I have caught up to him over the last 20 miles. I will catch up to him eventually, and then I can make a move. But again, as we also discussed afterwards, I mean, when you're that close to a Kona slot and a podium in an Ironman where you really didn't expect it, that I think it's more than okay to race for it. And by the end of the day, finishing fourth, accomplishing all the goals for the day, and actually going way beyond them, I think was really impressive. And yeah, that was also maybe why my night of sleep was ruined a bit, because I could see on the tracker that, just every time there was a split from the bike, I could just see, okay, this is moving in a better direction. But at all time, I was like, okay, the history says that in the fifth, 6 hour, it kind of blows to pieces. But I could just see, and I have also Kyle Glass from Pro Tri News. He's a good friend of mine, and I was chatting with him because he was there in person, and I was like, please tell Colin to be patient and just race his own race. Yeah, and eventually he was able to do so. So yeah, really proud about Colin, and yeah, also the race we did only 2 weeks after, where he also did maybe his best 70.3 as well.
Oh, that's so great. Colin, I think Arizona has been around for 20 years or something like that, and such a fast time. Just a few words on what went through your head when you came across the finish line.
I saw the clock and I was like 7:41. Like
Yeah,
that was my first question. It was like, is the clock accurate? Because I couldn't
yeah,
believe it. Like I just, my first Ironman was like, and my first best Ironman was like 8:18 before, and I
yeah,
obviously knew I'd do better than that. But like all of a sudden seeing going up a level just like that was like, it was, even though I wasn't on the podium and like deep down I really wanted it. I felt like that was like I was capable of that. Um,
exactly.
I was still super super happy, like just because like I felt great, and like seeing that time and like seeing kind of how I felt throughout the whole day, I
Yeah,
all of a sudden had this like renewed confidence in the Ironman, because before, like I was really considering like just scrapping Ironman for the next 2 or 3 years before I met Casper and like just doing 70.3 racing. But
mhm,
now I feel like I can race Ironman, which I really enjoy. Like racing a good Ironman is really fun.
exactly. And when you take a look at the results and see your name in front of a legend like Matt Hansen, and yeah, you being so close to some of the other legends, that must really give you some confidence.
Yeah, I think so. And like knowing that, I mean, our preparations are only like they were so short, and now we
Yeah.
have like a lot of time to prepare for a proper Ironman. It gets me like really excited, and I'm not sure what the next one's gonna be, but I'm really looking forward to whatever that's gonna be.
Yeah, for sure. We have teased a little bit for this because Casper mentioned something about altitudes, And is it true, Colin, that you actually grew up or was born in, and wait for it, guys, Himalaya, in the Himalaya mountains?
Well, no, no, I wasn't born in the Himalayas. My mom was just pregnant with me in the Himalayas.
All right,
Ah,
like that.
okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay. So it's sort of true. So
Yeah,
what's
yeah.
the story there with your did your parents travel a lot, or what are they mountaineers or?
They're not really mountaineers. They were just I mean, I guess my mom was like a bit of a climber before, and like my dad climbed like a little bit, and they weren't climbing Everest or anything. They just like went
Okay,
up to Everest base camp and like climbed some like smaller peaks in the Himalayas. But yeah, and they're from like being in Colorado as well. Like there's a lot to climb, and so yeah, that's why they were there.
we don't call it endurance mecca for nothing. Running, track, road racing, triathlon. Is there something I'm forgetting here? You have it all right there, and also you being 23 and have already been racing professionally for 3 or 4 seasons even. So what was your first sport growing up? Was that, a little bit of everything?
It was a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Like I did the Iron Kids when I was young, but it was
Wow.
like,
Okay.
I mean, it wasn't like an actual like race. It was just kind of like something for fun we did, and um, and then like I was also kind of on the swim team for a little bit in middle school, and then like I was I was really focused on running though, but I also
Yeah.
did like some other sports on the side, like mountain biking and things like that. I think that really helped. And I turned professional when I was 19, 20, but that was my sophomore year of college, and I felt like there was like a time and place where you could go professional and you could make it, and like I would have to start at 19 if I really wanted to achieve something.
Oh, really? But if my research is right, you raced a 70.3 race, which at that time was an age group only race, and you won that one pretty convincingly and turned professionally afterwards. And that was at December 21, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's correct. I guess my first professional race was Xterra. Like
Wow.
the first race I properly trained for, I think was the summer of 2021. And like it's a local Xterra. It doesn't exist anymore, which is unfortunate because it was really cool. But it's really high up. It's at like 9,000 feet. I don't know what that is in meters, but so like the swim, I wasn't a great swimmer then, and it was brutal. Like like I was just gasping for air all the way. And then it's like a really hard mountain bike that's just straight uphill. So
Yeah.
and then like a kind of technical descent, and then like a hard trail run 10K. And like I knew like if any race was suited for me, it was like that one. And I didn't have like a pro card or anything. I mean, I had done like a real triathlon before that. And like there were some guys that like I've watched their YouTube videos, like Eric and someone
No,
else.
Eric
But anyways,
Lagerstrom, right?
yeah, yeah. And I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
maybe I could beat him. I'm better
yeah,
suited for this race. And anyways, like that race went really, really well. And like I missed out on the money because I wasn't like racing in the professional field. And I was like, after that, I was like, oh, I think I could do this. Like,
yeah.
and then I signed up for what was it? I think it was like Indian Wells, and I also signed up for Haines City the next weekend. Um, one was a professional race and one wasn't. I didn't know the difference. I was just like, oh, I'll just do both. Anyways, I did the Indian Wells race, and it went okay. I mean, like I was on like $1,000 bike, and I had just water in my bottles. Like I knew nothing, and um, I forgot what my time was, but I was happy with it. And then the next weekend, like I knew a little bit more about the racing, and I won like the age group field of that.
Yeah. But I'm wondering here, your knowledge about professional racing, does it come from YouTube or from people in your community? Were there anyone you could measure yourself against to give you advice or anything where you live?
Well, to be fair, my parents did triathlons, not professionally or anything, just for fun. And so they had like some baseline knowledge of it. And I had been training, like my whole life. Like
Yeah.
I ran in college, and like every day was structured, and then like when I was training for the Xterra, that was while I was like technically on scholarship in college. And so it was very in secret. No one knew. I was just kind of doing my own thing. And and then after that, like I had like a great coach, and I asked, can I take the semester off of running just to focus on triathlon after this result? And she said yes. And I was able to like continue college, train for triathlon that whole semester. It was a really special experience to be able to do that, and I was also able to
Yeah.
train with the team. So yeah, I was very lucky to have some great people around me.
You had a scholarship for running, or how?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I guess in the U.S., like getting a scholarship can really help with
Yeah.
the financials of college, and like throughout all of high school, I knew well, like I really wanted to run in a Division 1 school, and
Yeah.
so I dropped swimming, I dropped mountain biking, I was just really focused on running, and just the level is insane. Like to get to a D1 level is crazy, and like I could maybe walk on to a D1 school, but it wouldn't make me have the financial support. And so I went to a Division 2 school, and like then you're able to develop a bit more because these D1 schools, they have everyone to pick from. And like if you don't make it, you don't make it. You're kind of screwed. Where if you go to a
Wow.
D2 school like I did, like then you're able to get financing, money, and like also like good coaches that are like really keen because on just developing you as an athlete.
Uh, What is it? Cross country, mile, 5,000 meters. What kind of distances were you focused?
Yeah, 5K, 10K on the track, um, and then cross country 8K.
Wow. So, Casper, I think we here in Europe maybe underestimate a little bit the level an athlete like Colin of force to have if you want to fit into that system.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is, as you also touched on, it's a really different system than what we have in Denmark, and I think both systems has its strengths and weaknesses. I think it occurs pretty harsh, the environment you have in college in the States, where in Denmark I feel like we are really also picking up maybe the weaker people in the system and make sure that everyone can be a part of it, where in college it's way more like either you make it or you don't, and then you'll just get lost in the system. And this is maybe also what have contributed to the mindset of Colin's training previous, in the way that everything was basically all or nothing, which and like that can be a good mindset, but when that takes over the training itself, where if every 10 times 1K is like we need to have finish stronger than we started and basically like puking up on the ground, then you can't really do many of those sessions. Where with the system that we are now working with Colin, it's way more structured and polarized, and making sure that we can I think actually we are stacking more. If you just look at the training as stress to the body, I think we actually are culminating more stress to Colin's system now than he did himself before. But because he can handle it now is due to the fact that it's polarized way more, and
Oh yeah.
it's it's like coming out through the whole week. So it's not necessarily, obviously there is easier days, but most days actually have one or two quality sessions, but it's in such a controlled way that he can leave the session and adapt to it really quickly and wake up the next day and be able to execute. And I really believe in consistency as the major part of like coming to success. I don't really think it's that important whether you're doing 5 times 10 minutes on the bike or if it's 6 times 8 minutes, that's not what makes the difference, but it's about really accumulating the right stress on the body over a long period of time, and kind of be like, okay, we have the race demands, we have the athlete's physiological profile, and then you kind of put that into a blender and you'll kind of get the result, and you kind of have to figure out how to get that together. And that's really what we are doing now. And I'm really excited the next chapter now, where Colin has a bit of off season, but next week we kind of slowly build into it, and then in January we will be in South Africa together for 3 weeks, where I have a base camp with some of my professional athletes and really get to work for what will hopefully be a really, really good 2026 season.
First, I want to touch a little bit on your daily training, Colin, because in Denmark for the past 5 years at least, there's been a heavy focus on working together in elite squads. That's one of the things that has worked for Magnus Ditlev and Christian Høgenhav, and maybe a little bit close to what the Norwegians do. So what about you, Colin? Are you a guy who thrives on being in your own space, your own mind, or do you love to go out and kick ass in your local club, or what's going on there?
Well, I guess I haven't always like trained completely alone. Like I was in Girona for 2 or 3 years, and like during that time, there's always someone at the pool, and like always someone that's maybe willing to ride together. But I also do enjoy like being able to like, just because of how my previous mindset was with like always wanting to push, I was always like, I hated like easy rides. It was just like it had to be pushing, it had to be like going fast, going hard. And like I didn't know. I just felt like that was the best method. And then like being in Girona actually helped a lot, because like when I dropped out of school to go to Girona, like pretty quickly after doing professional triathlon without like a ton of results. So I mean, it was real hard to justify it, but I felt like deep down I was like, I think I can do this. Like I've always been a better cyclist than I was runner, and like I felt like I was okay at swimming, but I didn't quite know where the level was going to be at. And like so I went there and I was like, if I'm going to learn from the best, I should be around the best. And there was like a lot of great guys training in Girona. And
was that the time where Jan Frodeno was there regularly?
Unfortunately not. He was in Andorra then, but I mean there was still like the Martin Van Riel squad, and
Cassandra
all those
Boucan.
guys. Vincent Louis there. I mean, the level's still insane.
Yeah, fantastic. Maybe it's wrong of me to talk about a YouTube generation, but if I was 23, I for sure would go where some of the top hitters were, even though I knew that I didn't have their level. I just wanted to be around those guys. So if you are honest here on camera, is that also what you wanted maybe to rub shoulders a little bit?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like I wanted to see where the level is at, because at my local pool, there's no triathletes, there's no like great swimmers there. I mean, you're the best one there because everyone's like, in retirement age and just there for fun. And so you can't really say like that, where you can't really see where the level's at. And then going down to sea level, I felt like helped a lot, because being a runner, I was like really skinny. If you look back at the pictures, like I had no power, no muscle. Like I was aerobically probably pretty fit, but like muscularly, I didn't have what it took. And like at altitude, I feel like it's quite hard to keep muscle mass on, especially if you're like not training properly and training so intense. And going down to sea level, I was able to actually like cycle a ton and then put on a lot of muscle mass, because the cycling there is also incredible.
Great. I want to throw this one out. Maybe you can go first here, Kasper. But the Ironman Pro Series, I believe, has changed the sport a little bit. Also, the schedule, that you have to be smart about things if you want to build a career here, because there's a lot of money at stake, and it's really hard, even in a young age, to go around the full Ironman distance. And also after Arizona, Colin, you have proved that you can hold your own here. First thoughts on next season? Of course, you have the camp in South Africa, so maybe also the race there, which has been a high-profile race for more than 10 years now. Is that maybe a good guess for where to start 2026?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to lead this. I'm going to let Casper take it because I'm not
Okay.
going to make the same mistakes I did in the previous years.
So it's the reason why we're laughing a bit is because it's still up in the air what the 2026 season will be like.
Yeah.
Obviously, Colin was really motivated after Arizona, and he pretty quickly sent me a long email with yeah, all the races he wants to do. And I think there was maybe, I can't really recall if it was 8 or 10 or so, but there was a lot of races in there. Um, and to Colin's defense, it was less than he has raced this year, but it was still, in my opinion, too many races, as I really want us to create a great foundation now. And not to take anything away from your calling your race in Arizona, but it was a really great performance and a great step in the right direction. But with the goals that we have together, Colin and I, there is still a long way to the top of this sport. We know that with Colin Swim, if we were to race the World Championship on Hawaii, for instance, we would be in no man's land or be with Lionel or Sam, and we can, like, with the level there is now, you can just not ride to the front when you have the likes of Magnus and Sam in the front of the race, who is, yeah, I would say the best riders in this sport. So if you're not close to the front of the race, you will definitely not see it. And obviously, there is a learning component to race on Hawaii, but I also think like there's no reason to go to the big island of Hawaii, use a lot of finances on that, and come in third position or 13th position or so. Like we want to go there and feel like we can fight for it. Not necessarily the world title, but at least like feel like we are part of the race. And that's also what the mindset leading into 2026 will be, is that, yeah, the Pro Series could be an option, but I still think, and if you actually do all the calculations, like maybe if Colin really focused on the Pro Series, he would maybe finish, let's say, in eighth or seventh position on a, like, if everything goes really well, which will be a great result. But financially, that actually doesn't give you that many money. It will give you a lot of money if you finish on the podium and eventually takes the win. But I think it's way better both from a learning perspective and from a financial perspective to pick his own schedule in a way that we believe works for him, and not be like, okay, we have to fit in 3 Ironmans and we have to get in these two 70.3s and plan around that. But we can really be like, okay, this is the focus. We do it in our pace and make sure that whenever Colin touches start line, he is fully ready for the demands of the race and is able to fight for the win. And I think a lot of athletes nowadays, and I think this comes down to the fact that if you look back 5 years ago, before COVID, it was, I would say, easy to go in top five or even at a podium at a local 70.3. But now the depth of the field across all races there is, and especially Pro Series races and full Ironman is huge. So even going into top 10 is actually quite an achievement in my eyes.
Yeah.
So if you're not fully ready to go into a race and really have prepared for it, I think you will just have an average result, and that is not what we are looking for. We are looking into improving, and also, I mean, obviously there is 2026 coming up, but we have already talked about that this is a long-term project. And Colin, as you said, is a really young athlete, and there's a lot of things to learn. So eventually, we want him to be at his A game in maybe 4, 5, 6 years, and yeah, hopefully be in contention for fighting for the top places at the World Championship.
Oh, it sounds very interesting. If you take a look at what you've done previously, Colin, you were not afraid to go outside U.S. borders, but I don't know if you have to be smart about things, thinking not only about the sporting achievements but also think about finances a little bit. Would you prefer to stay a little bit in the U.S., race there, or would you still love to, you know, go out, race a little bit in Australia, a little bit Europe, a little bit all around. Your thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, like Casper said, like I did send that long email, and there was like a lot of different racing in there. So Australia, I think there's like one in Europe, and like it'd also be cool to maybe race, like a race like Challenge Roth sometimes in the future. But
Oh yeah,
like I I don't want to stay just in the U.S. Like, of course, you want to see where the level is elsewhere, and like I feel like there's maybe some athletes that just stay in the US and they just kind of get used to the guys that are around. And it's nice to kind of go over to Europe and see those guys and then see if there's any differences in how the racing style is.
yeah. But what I love about this, it sounds like you're also a little bit of a fanboy, Colin. You seem to really know and love the sport. So before we wrap up here, what are some of your favorite memories? Maybe before you really picked up the sport professionally, were you the guy who watched Iron War version 2 and 3?
Yeah. Yeah, I would watch Kona as a kid, like
Yeah, yeah.
just whenever it was on TV. And like I just got to hang out with Mark Allen last weekend and like kind of pick his
Wow.
brain about Kona. It was really
Yeah,
cool and like like the sport has like it has changed a little bit, but the fundamentals are the same. And like
yeah.
he had some good
I just
advice on like how to
I
approach it.
just I
Sorry.
want to show you something funny. So that's what happens when the ADHD kicks in. Sorry, I can't help it. But I actually had exactly a moment like. Can you see here? Can you see the picture?
It's from Kona,
Y-
right?
Yeah, it's my first. It's my 2019 rendezvous with the man Mark Allen himself.
Yeah.
So I can fully attest to what and it's just when you meet these kind of people who have been so legendary and pushed the sports, have such an impact on the sports. It really is like they can transfer some of the magic to yourself, and it's really quite special, I think. So I can really understand what you say here, Colin.
Yeah. I mean, I'll go to my mom did a couple Ironmans and like watching those races and you would see the front of the professional field and I always thought like as a kid I was like, "Oh, that's the coolest thing. Like I want to be there." Like
Yeah,
I mean, like my mom like met like Chrissy Wellington. Like my mom was just doing it for fun as an age grouper and like Chrissy Wellington was like kind enough to like take the time and like she had like a long conversation with my mom and I was there and like I always thought she was like, "Oh, that was like it was really cool." And then you see her race and you're like, "Oh, wow, that was really impressive."
yeah. Also, on Instagram, are you taking along, following as many as possible, or I don't know?
No, I'm pretty bad on Instagram. I don't follow along enough.
Okay,
I used
you
to watch like Sam Long's YouTube videos getting
yeah.
started. Yeah, maybe that was where the bad training started. Um,
You want to outdo him?
yeah, yeah, it's like I could ride harder and farther than that. Um, yeah, but I mean, he had like great videos. I guess it was like 2021, 2020 when COVID was happening, and I was like, oh, that's
Yeah,
pretty impressive because you see a guy that just I guess we had kind of similar backgrounds, and I was like, oh, like
yeah,
maybe this is possible.
exactly. And how old is Sam? Is he? He's only a couple of years old. He's 4 or 5 years older than you, maybe,
I
or
think
maybe
he's
less.
7 years older. 7 years older than me.
Is he?
I
Is he
think he
really?
turns 30 by the end of this year,
Oh
actually.
my God, time moves fast. I think of him like a guy who's in his mid-20s, but
Me too.
of course, yeah, that's so far. But I think his second kid is on his way, so he can't stay young forever.
The second kid is already born, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
If you have some sponsors or people who help you, Colin, you can plug along.
Yeah. I mean, I have like I don't have any like giant brands, but like I have some like people that are like really in my corner. I mean, Precision's helped a lot, and
Yeah,
I have like a local store, Arvada. If anyone's in Colorado, stop by the store. They're great guys, and I mean, and like I also have like a financial backer, Resolute Wealth. They've helped me a ton. And my aerodynamic shoe sponsor. um, Velaveta. They are the best. They are the fastest shoe in the game. But
Yeah.
and then and Groons as well, keeping me from getting sick. So yeah, that's
Great.
my squad for this year.
Yeah, yeah. And do you are you also on the look for what do you call that? A manager, a person who manage your finances, but also maybe your Instagram account, or are you still planning on doing those things yourself?
I mean, I probably need it. My I don't have a ton of followers or like
Yeah,
a huge Instagram following, but I just think I would rather just keep it authentic, keep
yeah.
it like my words and yeah.
But I think that there's a lot of introverts in this sport. We can't all be Anfodinos who are super open and also really good at sport and also have a beautiful wife and beautiful kids. So there's a lot of people who prefer to outsource that. But to me, it seems like you're not afraid to reach out and kick the door into your local bike store and say, hey, what have you thought about sponsoring me? So you find that quite natural, or
I mean, I'm not like the most extroverted person, but like I mean, I would just go to the store all the time and like I would think I was spending like most of my paycheck there. And they were like,
yeah,
they brought it up to me. They're like, oh yeah, we could sponsor you if you want. And so
yeah.
yeah, that was just how it happened. And like all my other sponsors have just been pretty natural. Like I just went and bought the Velaveta shoes and then had a conversation about triathlon. And then he's like, oh yeah, we could make a partnership work. So I mean,
Okay.
that's how basically all my sponsorships have been. Nothing like corporate or big. I mean, Groons. I was eating a lot of Groons, and like I knew the guy that I was selling Groons, so that's how that occurred. So
That,
yeah.
that's perfect. Kasper, are there other exciting projects for 2026 that you want to plug or talk about?
Yeah, I mean, it's like obviously at first now also because we were in quite some time limitation leading into Arizona and Valdivia as the last two races, so we haven't really had the chance to really start working on building the solid foundation. But what I've already felt like with Colin now, and which actually comes as a bit of a surprise, not due to who Colin is, but like his age and everything. But he's actually quite mature in the way that he's thinking and really optimizing. So at the moment, we have some interesting conversation with potential brands and partners, but like what I really like about Colin is that he don't want to sacrifice performance. So we have a lot of conversations about, okay, it could be that this would work out financially, but do we actually compromise our performance? Because by the end of the day, that is what we will win races by or have great results with. So yeah, at first we've really been working on the low-hanging fruits, and I still believe there is some low-hanging fruits to pick from. But yeah, as this is a long-term project, we obviously need to think in the bigger picture as well. And that is, yeah, what the winter season is about and what we will most likely do in South Africa outside of building a good foundation. We'll have some great conversations about how we can fine-tune everything around it, because I think nowadays, like the best athletes in the sport, they are basically like a Formula One team. You have engineers, you have managers, you have like different people working at different areas. Like even though it's a small part of it, it's still really important. And if you can put together that puzzle of great people around you, then and learn from them and find a good mix, then I think you are in it for having a great result.
Great. Maybe final questions outside of triathlon. Of course, it's all-consuming sport. Takes up most of your life. But is there something on Netflix? Is there some crazy hobby that you have time for, Colin, outside of a triathlon? Maybe we could also call it a fun fact. People should know about you if they don't know you already.
I'll let Casper go first. I gotta think of something.
Kasper, are you the only person in Denmark who haven't watched Wicked Part 2 yet?
I must be the only person in Denmark then that hasn't watched it yet. But I was actually thinking if we were thinking about Colin, I think he's been so destroyed from training over the last few years that he hasn't been able to actually have a hobby or watch a TV show. So I think he's maybe slowly starting to feel energized for it and potentially pick up a hobby or a Netflix series. That would be a good goal actually for recovery to have the
Yeah,
energy to not fall asleep to a TV show.
Yeah,
exactly.
that's true. And like, I'm looking at buying some skimo equipment, just to get some training in outside triathlon, maybe to justify to
So
justify
I,
some
I
training.
didn't get. Did you say you are?
Some ski mountaineering equipment.
Oh, yeah. Is it like Sam Long? He used to be an elite skier before triathlon, right?
I don't know. Maybe.
I
I'm not
I
sure.
actually I think he did. I think he was actually semi-professional in his late teens, early 20s before triathlon took up. But yeah, I'm not completely sure. But have you been snowboarding and skiing a lot in your early youth?
Yes, but before triathlon,
Yeah.
I honestly think the risks are too high, like to tear an ACL downhill skiing. Like, my family is like big Nordic skiers, but I'm terrible on skate skis. Like for some reason, I just can't get the glide down on one ski, and I'm okay. I'm okay at like classic skiing, like not the skate, but yeah, I mean, that's a good way to train during the winter as well. I just haven't done it for the past few years because I've been like, oh, I'd rather swim and work on that.
Exactly. And you're not tempted to do some of the tricks you can watch on the Red Bull YouTube channel, triple loops and stuff like that?
No, I know too many friends that have like torn ACLs and just completely destroyed their legs. So,
Yeah,
I mean, as long as I do triathlon, I'm not gonna do any downhill skiing. I can't
yeah,
justify it.
great. And I can see outside your window. It looks like the weather is pretty good, but is it proper winter where you are right now? Or
Yeah, yeah, it is. I mean, Colorado's great because it's always sunny. It doesn't really
yeah,
matter the temperature. So you can always get out there. Like this morning, it's like it's really icy, but I mean, I was just in a t-shirt, so
yeah.
the sun's quite powerful here.
And most people here in Scandinavia are on the indoor bikes right now. But are you a big fan of the turbo, or do you go out as much as possible?
Uh, I'm not a big fan of the trainer. It's so mentally hard. Like
Yeah,
I would rather just there's a loop not far from my house. It's like I mean 30-minute drive. I guess it's pretty far, but I go down there. It's usually plowed and clear. I haven't been on the indoor bike yet since Valdivia. I've been on off season, so yeah, just
so
relaxing.
rather go 300 times round a loop in sitting in a basement sweating.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think I've done that loop like 10,000 times. It's crazy.
Strava, local legend.
Yeah,
Going.
yeah, for sure. I have all the
I love it.
KOMs there.
I love that. Thank you so much, the both of you, for taking the time to talk.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you for yeah, inviting us on your show, Lasse. It's always a privilege. We have obviously talked a couple of times, but a pleasure as always.